So after 10 years at Tottenham Hotspur, Son Heung-min is leaving the club and going to LAFC for around 20 million euros, which is a pretty decent fee for, I think, Spurs in this day and age. But we're here to debate, is Son Heung-min the greatest Asian player of all time? Because I think now that debate will get to that discussion, considering now he's going to make the move to MLS. The only thing that could add to his accolades would be going far in the World Cup or winning the Asian Cup in 2027. But we have Jack from Deadball TV, of course, the greatest AFC footy content on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed to Deadball TV, I would highly recommend it because there you will find discussions about the Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, and all AFC football out there. But today we're going to debate, is Son Heung-min the greatest Asian footballer of all time? I'm going to give you the stats of Son at Tottenham Hotspur and even at Bayer Leverkusen because it is just astronomical what he has done in his career so far. So in 87 appearances for Bayer Leverkusen, he scored 29 goals and got 11 assists. Didn't win any trophies. Obviously, at Tottenham then, he got 454 appearances, 173 goals, and 101 assists, people. I think you need to comprehend the amount of goals he scored in the toughest league in the world, in the Premier League. For Son to consistently perform at that level, I think it's outrageous. Now, people will give, and you give your thoughts in the comments down below if you think Son is the greatest player or if you think Park Ji-sung. Maybe some people will say Keisuke Honda. Maybe some people will say Shinji Kagawa. Maybe some Iranians will say Ali Dai. I'm just going to give my thoughts and then I'll give it off to Jack. I think Son is close. I don't think he's the greatest. I think it's still Park Ji-sung because obviously if you're talking about individual quality, I think Son is the greatest Asian football of all time, even though Honda has a huge case for it as well, and Shinji Kagawa. But Sonny as a player brought fear to every defender in the Premier League, consistently performing for South Korea, scoring in the Asian Cup final in 2015. But I just look at Park Ji-sung and what he did in his career. One, people have to look at the 2002 World Cup. He scored against Portugal. He was unbelievable for goose hitting. Still as a kid, still playing in South Korea. Outstanding. Then he makes the move because Goose Hitting was then obviously the manager of PSV. Brings him to PSV. You know what Park Ji-sung done? He won the Eredivisie. He made the semi-final of the Champions League with PSV. Playing wonderful football as sort of a number 10, sometimes playing out wide with PSV. And they only lost to AC Milan. Yeah, I don't even need to go through that Milan team because it's unbelievable. Then he makes the move to Manchester United, wins the Champions League, wins the Premier League, has outstanding performances for Manchester United. Yes, he did win the Asian Cup, and that's sort of the only downfall in his career. But you could say that about a bunch of South Korean players out there. But I think Park Ji-sung, you want to add accolades. You want to talk about individual performances. You want to talk about big moments. I think Park Ji-sung has the case to be the greatest Asian footballer of all time. Obviously, am I going to deny people saying that Son is the greatest? No, but the one thing that Son is just missing for me is a bit more trophies. That's because he's such a good player. And yes, you can talk about he's such a loyal player for 10 years at Tottenham. I think the loyalty is unbelievable by Son. He got that one trophy finally at the end with the Europa League. Just needs a little bit more. That's just the only thing for me when it comes to Son. But if you want to talk about individual quality, I think Son is number one. But you got to give a shout out to Keisuke Honda because Honda, bad boy player. Bad boy player. But what do you think, Jack? Do you think he is the greatest player of all time, Asian-wise, or would you give a shout? Also, actually, would you count Australians into this debate?
Yeah, I think we need to.
Okay, then I would give a shout out to Harry Kewell and Tim Cahill because those two guys, great players too. But what's your overall thoughts? Who do you think is the greatest Asian footballer of all time, and what's your sort of breakdown of it? How much do you include accolades? How much do you include the individual player, his moments?
I think the best Asian player of all time is Son Heung-min. And I would say by a slightly comfortable margin. I think Park Ji-sung is the second. I am a massive Keisuke Honda fan. I think I would have him in fourth. I go back between him and Cha Boom all the time for that third place. But I'll keep it to the Koreans for now. I think, let's start with the national team. First off, neither of them won the Asian Cup. If Son wins the Asian Cup in 2027, this conversation is over. It's dusted. If he makes the quarterfinals with South Korea, I think it's over and dusted at the next World Cup. So I think he's like almost there in terms of, it was like when Tom Brady won with the Bucks and it was just done, right? To me, that's where Son is now. Literally, he's going to America. He's not going to Tampa Bay, but he's going to Los Angeles. And I think this is the point where he just does the little tiny things that could end the comparisons between him and Park Ji-sung. But I think with the national team, I do acknowledge that 2002, Park Ji-sung was a beast. South Korea was better in 2002 than they are now, though. I think he had a much better supporting cast. That is the golden generation of Koreans. Hung Min-bo, the best defender they ever had. Now we got Kim Min-jae. We'll see what he has to say at the end of the day. There's the other guy, the Korean stallion, long hair. I think, I'm talking about. Can't remember his name right now.
I can't remember his name either.
They had a very good team. There's also the talks about, the officiating and everything in that tournament, but we don't need to go into that too far. I would say for South Korea, Son has been a better player than Park Ji-sung. I think Park Ji-sung's been great for the South Korean national team, but I think Son has basically carried them for a decade. Like he had Ki Sung-young 10 years ago. Ki Sung-young was great, Swansea City GOAT, but he's not a Park Ji-sung. He never had an amazing supporting cast. Every iteration of South Korea has had a huge fatal flaw on the team. Either the fullbacks are terrible. Now they have Park Sung-woo, obviously, at the right back. So they at least have one right back who's sufficient. They don't have a left back still. They don't have a goalkeeper right now. They don't have a center back partner with Kim Min-jae. They have a couple promising guys. They have one of the worst sixes in the AFC. They don't really have a striker. It's kind of Cho Gae-sung, then it's not. I think Son's carried South Korea. So I think he's been more important to South Korea than Park Ji-sung was overall. Let's go to accolades. I completely agree. The argument against Son Heung-min is the trophies. But I think that's contextual. Because I think Son could have gone to Real Madrid 3 years ago,
100%.
and he'd have 8 more trophies? Does that make him better, though? Does it make him better? I don't think it does. I just think it means his trophy case is more full. So I think he could have easily left. I think the fact that he stayed with Spurs and he won something, to me, that's extra important. But the trophies to me is like 10% of the legacy. It's more about like the circumstance in which he performed and like what was the context around this Europa League. Like he played for a decade in the Premier League as one of the best wingers in the league, if not the best winger in the league in certain seasons. He won the Golden Boot as a winger for Spurs with 0 penalty kicks and didn't make the team of the season that year. So I think you look at the longevity of Son, it's much better than somebody like Keisuke Honda, again, my guy. But he didn't last at an elite level at AC Milan and at Moscow long enough to be considered the GOAT Asian player. Cha Boom, I feel like his biggest thing would probably be, again, kind of not winning the Asian Cup and maybe not the same degree of difficulty as Son Heung-min. That's maybe a little debatable. The Bundesliga was still very, very strong back then, maybe the second best league in Europe. I'm not a historian to that regard. But I don't think there's another Asian player who's been doing it like this for Son for 10 years. Dude, he's got 400 games for Spurs. Park Ji-sung played like 120 games for Man U. And they won all those trophies, but he only played 120 games. So to me, that matters. That he wasn't like an essential piece of Manchester United. He was important. He wasn't a scrub. This is not like bringing on, I don't know, I don't want to offend any player, but bringing on some substitute in the 88th minute of every single game. He was important, but Son Heung-min is Spurs. He's the representative of the club. Park Ji-sung was never, ever the face of Man U. And he wasn't close to the face of Man U, ever. Because he was the 9th best guy in their starting 11. Son was one, it was Harry Kane, then it was Son Heung-min, or Christian Eriksen maybe one season. So I think all in all, the body of work is way more impressive for Son. He just doesn't have trophies, but that's okay. He chose to play for one club. Chris Paul's one of the greatest point guards of all time. Dude hasn't won a damn thing. It's okay. He didn't play for the Warriors. He didn't play for the Boston Celtics or the San Antonio Spurs. It's all right.
Sonny has been unbelievable for 10 years at a high level. And with you saying that like South Korean national teams, especially in that 2015 Asian Cup when they made it to the final against Australia, I thought Son was great in that tournament. For a young player, he was 22 at the time, 23, and for the performances he was putting up, and having that sort of superstar tandem about him, and people having all this pressure about him, and South Korean media then bringing the pressure to Son, like, okay, you're making the move to Bayer Leverkusen, making the move to Bayer Leverkusen, performing well there, and then you go to Tottenham. Like, there's pressure from South Korea, let alone just, being a South Korean player in the Premier League. Like, you're already having the odds against you. Obviously, Park Ji-sung was like the trailblazer in that, but then Son to take that next level. But I mean, growing up and watching like the Champions League, obviously I didn't get to watch like the Premier League on a consistent basis, but every time I watched Manchester United in the Champions League, Park Ji-sung was everywhere on the field. I mean, there's a reason why his nickname was Three Lung Park. This dude was a machine. At times I thought he was taking steroids for the amount of kilometers he was running. Just a hard worker, very technically good, and very high IQ. There's something about Park Ji-sung where I watched him play, I was like, that's a sort of player I like to be. I know I'm not as good as Zidane. I know I'm not as good as Pirlo. But if you work hard and you're smart, you can be like Park Ji-sung. And that's something that I always kind of cherished about the player. But then Son took that to a next level and a next level. So it comes down to each person. What do you determine as the greatest player? Do you determine it as individual quality? Do you determine it as the accolades they picked up in their career? Do you talk about the level they reached into their career? Because you could give an argument for like Kagawa. Kagawa at Dortmund for 2 years. Dude was a stud. Almost a world-class player at Dortmund. So everybody can have their different breakdown. I would still have almost. I would almost say almost for Kagawa. Now the argument could be, was Park Ji-sung ever world-class? Probably not. Probably not.
The answer is no. Yeah. He was never world-class. Like, no. This is another way, and I don't like doing this because I love Park Ji-sung. So if you think Park Ji-sung or anybody watching is the greatest, more power to you, bro. But I think it's comfortably Son Heung-min. If you look at the best Park Ji-sung season, whatever that may be, I don't know enough to say it was 2007, for example, or whatever. I don't know enough to say that. But if you look at Son Heung-min and you look at his peak and where he was considered in the world, in his position, compared to his competition at the left wing position, I think he was a top 5 left winger for years in the world. I don't think he was ever one, but I think he was in the top 5. To me, I probably would have had him in 3rd at some point. I mean, you and I could probably battle Sadio Mane versus Son Heung-min. We will never convince each other of the other person's standpoint. I'm just saying Sadio Mane never gets the numbers of Son at Tottenham. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Park Ji-sung was never a top 5 CM, dude. He wasn't. He didn't play enough. Michael, he played 15 games a season. He doesn't have the minutes. He doesn't have the CV.
Although I would say in that Champions League run in 2008, I thought he was really good for Manchester United. Maybe he wasn't like the best player like a Scholes or Ronaldo. You could even throw like Carlos Tevez, a Vidic, a Ferdinand, but maybe that's the problem for Park Ji-sung. Because he was in such a good team. And I remember watching him for PSV in the last season where they made it to the semifinal of the Champions League. The dude was an unbelievable player. Everywhere on the field. Really, like, you wouldn't say dominant because that wasn't really Park Ji-sung's game. He wasn't like a controller of the game. He's kind of like, if people want like a comparison, maybe like a Jordan Henderson. Very much a pressing machine, good technical quality, high IQ, but he wasn't going to like take a game by the scruff of the neck and just carry his team. That wasn't really Park Ji-sung, but his impact on games was definitely felt at PSV more, I would say, than Manchester United. Manchester United was like sort of little spurts of it. But like you say, I mean, are we going to forget Son's performance against Manchester City in the quarterfinal of the Champions League? When was it? 2019. I mean, the dude was a stud in both legs. Scored the first ever goal at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Scored 2 goals away at the Etihad. No Asian player has reached those levels. No Asian player will. It might be a while until we see an Asian player.
And no player has ever performed that well against Manchester City. Like, if you ask a Manchester City fan, what they see in the closet at night is Son Heung-min.
Yep.
It wasn't Harry Kane. No. It's not Harry Kane. It's not Christian Eriksen. It's not Alexis Sanchez. It's Son Heung-min, who tormented Man City every single time. I actually think one of the strongest, if not the strongest argument for Park Ji-sung is the PSV and how he was able to do it again at a different club. But again, context, PSV are a top 3 club in the Eredivisie. So I think if Park Ji-sung had gone to like, I don't know, Fiorentina and won the Serie A there, then wow, I'm like sweating trying to like defend my stance here for Son, because I'm like, damn, dude.
Then that would be like Hidetoshi when he went to AS Roma, won the league, because AS Roma hadn't won the league for about 3-4 decades, and he went there, had some really important performances as AS Roma won the league, and obviously AS Roma had studs like Cafu and Totti, but Nakata was a pretty important player for AS Roma in order for them to win the Scudetto. So you could probably say that's like one of the greatest seasons ever from an Asian player. That, probably Son, I would say 21, 22. I would probably say Park Ji-sung 04, 05 for that PSV team. Kim Min-jae for Napoli. Those are sort of like the Asian players when I think of like individual seasons. Club-wise,
Mediterraneo Porto 2020. No, that didn't.
Shinji Kagawa, I think one of the dormant seasons, he's got to be up there too, by the way. I think one of the...
Sardar Azmoun in Russia? No. Dude, he was cooking there, though. I mean, let's put some respect on that. He was a freak, the Iranian Messi. You know, I actually think even Harry Kewell, most Japanese would put Hidetoshi over Keisuke Honda, I think.
Yeah, I would probably agree with them, to be honest. Like, I love Honda, bro. I mean, the free kicks from 2010 will always be in my memory, but what Hidetoshi Nakata did for AS Roma and Parma, what other Japanese player has done that? Only Kagawa.
Yeah, only Kagawa.
Only Kagawa.
Yeah.
That's it. Not Kubo, not Honda.
One thing that a lot of these guys struggle with that Son didn't, though, is longevity, man.
Yeah, at the top.
500 games in Europe. Over 500 games. Even Hidetoshi, I think he played like 150 in Italy. Now, those were 150 great games, but we're talking 500. So now it's a bit of LeBron versus Michael Jordan, where it's like, yeah, Michael Jordan maybe had better points per game stats, but LeBron's 40 years old. He's been doing it for 20 years. At what point does longevity overtake peak?
Yeah, but this is a very good debate, and I think when Son retires, there will be even more debate. And if he wins the Asian Cup, I'm not counting the Asian Games. Yes, he got military exemption for it. That's the award right there. You don't go to the military for 2 years in South Korea. If he wins the Asian Cup, it's certified. It's done. It's like when Messi won the World Cup, he was the GOAT forever. If Son wins the next Asian Cup, where South Korea are going to be one of the favorites, for me, then he is the GOAT of Asian.
What if they make the quarterfinals of the next World Cup?
Yeah, I'll probably give it to him. If they make the World Cup quarterfinals with the stud teams that we're seeing right now, and if they beat like a Colombia or if they beat like a Portugal in a round of 16, yeah, I'll probably put Son as the greatest ever. And he's got to be impactful, though, because Park Ji-sung was impactful for that 2000. For how young he was, dude was a stud in 2002. So there's some caveats, though. You can't just be a bench rider if you're Son, or you're just like, okay, 60 minutes, 70 minutes, but you're not having a huge impact on the game. Son, you still got to have an impact. It's like if Portugal win the next World Cup, but Ronaldo plays 10 minutes a game, are you really going to give it to Ronaldo? Yes, he won the World Cup, but he didn't have that impact on the team. So there's caveats to it, but I think if Son wins that Asian Cup in 2027 and he's one of the good players in South Korea, it's done.
What if he wins like 3 trophies with LAFC?
Really? Do you think I'm going to take it serious?
I mean,
it's MLS.
I think if he won
MLS.
I think if he won like 3, that'd be pretty impressive. Or what if he won the CONCACAF Cup with LAFC? That's not easy. That's not easy to take down the Liga MX teams.
Yeah, you have to be like a Tigres, a Club America, or Cruz Azul. Well, I would say Cruz Azul, but they just lost 7-0 to Seattle, so how good are they?
Yeah. Bad time to record this episode.
I would say, yeah, that could definitely help if you win like a CONCACAF Champions League. Then that would help you qualify to the next Club World Cup, and let's see if Son, how long he stays at LAFC, but it could help. I mean, like MLS, I can't take it serious as a league. I'm sorry, I just can't, people. Good development league, has some good talent, but as a league, I can't take it serious. Now, if you beat a Liga MX team, because you have to go home and away, oh no, that's something serious, people. There can be some things that will help Son in his career. I think winning the Europa League was massive for him. It was so and being the captain as well, like that's a huge achievement for an Asian player. So Yeah, Son, man, what a great career he's had. Unbelievable moments. Obviously, Jack, as a Tottenham fan, is going to be very sad that he's leaving, but staying at the club for
Yes.
10 years and finally lifting the Europa League trophy. Son will be a legend forever at Tottenham Hotspur, deserves a statue, and will go down as one of the greatest Asian players of all times. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. Is Son the greatest Asian player of all time? Remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, subscribe to Deadball TV for a lot of Asian footy content, including the debate of Malaysia and Indonesia and Philippines, who has the brightest future ahead of any of those national teams. Follow me on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, join the Discord, all those links in the description down below. Have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. Till next time, adios.